Here, now I'll save the document and I'll play the flow. As you can see, Fuga is cycling through each row of the CSV. Now I'll revert the file. Okay, now what I want it to do is I want Fuga to export a PDF for each one of these rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the File Actions category, and I'll select Export, not JPG, I'll select Export PDF, and I'll move this inside the loop. It's important to make sure that this if action is closed because it's a little bit hard to insert it into the loop underneath it if it's not closed. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in row, our same variable that we used in load data, and that's also the counter for the loop, into this action. And what that's going to do is it's going to name our files as 1.pdf, 2.pdf, 3.pdf. It's not the best way to name our files, but I'll be showing you how to improve the name a little bit later. And we'll select relative to current document to tell Fuga to save these in the same file as the current document we're working on. Later on, I'll be showing you how this VDP export works. For preset, I'm going to change this to high quality print. You can see the list of the PDF presets right here. I'm going to use this one, high quality print. And now I'll save this and I'll play the flow. Okay, and as you can see here, we have 1.pdf, 2.pdf, 3.pdf, and each file has a watermark on it. These watermarks are something that Fuga puts onto all exported files by default. Only the exported files that you modify through a flow or that you use a flow to create. It won't touch any of the files that you create in InDesign without Fuga, so don't worry about that. But these will all have watermarks by default. In order to remove the watermarks, you basically have to pay for your pages, which I'll be showing you how to do in a second. So, coming back to the flow, I'll revert this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to improve these file names a little bit by using a string variable. Let's say that I want to name these files with their month, with the month that they were created in. To show you how I would do this manually without a variable, I'll put in, let's say, August students and a plus sign before the row variable. What this will do is it'll do August students, and then it'll add to the end of it the row number. So you'll end up with August students 1, August students 2, August students 3. If we were using two numbers, then it would add the numbers together like normal, but when Fuga sees a string and a number, or a number and a number, remember that a string is another word for normal text. So file names, paragraph text, whatever. When Fuga sees two strings, it'll just add them together, just smush them together. So here we'll have August students 1, August students 2, and so on, whatever row is equal to. We, since we'll want to change this name though every month, what we should do is use a variable. This way we don't have to remember to go into the flow every month and change this. We can just, it'll automatically update. I'll show you exactly how to do that in a second though. So what I'm going to do first of all is sometimes this gets stuck, is I'll create a new variable and I'll name it PDF names name. And I'll leave it on string, and I'll leave that blank. So now what I'll do is I'll put in PDF name here. Remember that these don't get quotes around them because they're variables, which is how Fuga knows that they're variables, because they don't have quotes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the ask action to tell Fuga to ask the user what they would like to use for the name, just like how I showed you in the very beginning. So I'll select this ask action and I'll move it up to the top because we don't want it to repeat every time. And now what I'll do is I'll say ask the user for a string, question text, let's say, what would you like to name your PDF files? And for default value, I'll leave that as blank. If you wanted to put something there, you would, put quotes around it. Put quotes around here too. Don't forget your quotes, because you'll get a warning or an error. For put result in, I'll put it in PDF name. To tell Fuga to put this value into the PDF name variable. So, now what I'm going to do is I'll step through the flow. Oh, whoops. Sorry, I'm going to stop the flow and I'm going to save it first, which you always want to remember to do before testing your flow out. Now, I'll step through the flow and Fuga is coming to the ask action. See, what would you like to name your PDF files? I'll type in August student. Okay, and now Fuga is going to start the loop. As you can see, it's increasing row to 1, loading the data, applying the character style. It's going to export the PDF. As you can see, PDF name is August student, row is 1, so it'll export August student 1. Now it's going to go on to August student 2, and I'll play the flow. And now you can see we have August student 1.pdf, August student 2.pdf, August student 3.pdf. Now, actually, I'm going to go back and delete these. If you forget to delete your files and Fuga tries to save over it, sometimes you get an error. Okay, so now what I'll show you how to do is how to take that watermark off your final PDFs. I'm going to use this VDP export option. What VDP export is it's basically variable data printing. It allows you to export lots of PDFs from the same flow, and you pay a lower rate because it's assumed that you're exporting large quantities at once, and you don't want to have to pay a lot for each one. So to do that, first you actually want to fill in your account information on this Fuga Preferences panel. You can get to the Fuga Preferences panel from the Fuga Hanger panel menu. So on this License tab, you'll fill out your account information. You can sign up for a Fuga account from our website if you haven't already. And then you'll press OK. And here all you have to do is click this VDP export checkbox. Now when you want to perform the flow, here first I'll save it. When you want to actually perform the flow, you can't play it or step through it because Fuga wants to make sure that when you're going to be paying for your pages, you aren't trying to use the workshop, because when you're in the workshop, it's normally when you're going to just be testing your flows. It's normally not when you're actually ready to export your final pages and pay for them and everything. So in order to export pages as VDP, you have to click this Run Flow button, and let's say September students, just to mix it up. Press yes here. And okay. And now, as you can see, we've got our clean PDF files for each student from each row in the CSV. And remember that you could, have 50 different students, 200 different students in here, and it would have exported for PDFs for all of them. As a final note, I just want to talk about the difference between VDP export and normal unlock. Basically, normal unlock, which is either unlocking the document through here or through the unlock action, which we have here, the unlock pages action. What that'll do is it'll give you an InDesign file that can then be exported to PDF, JPG, SWF, whatever you'd like. This allows you to edit your document after the flow is performed. What VDP does is it just exports these documents without watermarks through the flow. It doesn't actually give you an InDesign file that you can then export without watermarks. You can only export it through the flow. So this is better for pages, when you're doing hundreds of pages and you don't want to have to export, you don't want to have to edit each page individually after it's exported or after the flow creates it. So that's the main difference between VDP and unlock. And as you'll notice, this document is actually locked right now. When you go here, this unlock command isn't grayed out, so that means that it's locked. So it's also important to remember to revert the file again before saving it, because if I saved the file now, I would have to pay to unlock it before I used it again. So that's it. Like I said, remember to revert, always revert, and yeah, thanks for watching. In the next tutorial, I'm going to be going over variables a little bit more, and I might throw in some other goodies, but that's it for this one. So yeah, thanks for watching again, and take care.